Alright, today we're back to my classic walkthrough style videos where I talk through my thought processes live during the round and explain why I'm making certain decisions as the game unfolds. This round is Breakthrough on Railway to Golmud, and it's a little different from my usual gameplay because the first half of the match is primarily tanking play. Now honestly, I don't spend a ton of time playing vehicles compared to infantry, but I actually think that makes this useful because this isn't going to be a super sweaty tank montage. Instead, I want to focus on simple positioning concepts and way to use vehicles effectively to help your team win sectors. Then in the second half, we transition back into more classic infantry gameplay and objective pushes. So if you're mainly here for infantry gameplay, feel free to skip ahead a bit, but I think the tank portion still shows a lot of concepts that apply directly to infantry too, like positioning, minimizing exposure, holding pressure, and becoming an anchor point for your team. So we end up finishing this round with 31 kills, 4 deaths, 9 captures, and the win. So with that, let's get into my loadout. For this round, I'm rocking the support class. We're actually the attackers on this round, and whenever I play attacker on Breakthrough, I actually really like playing support, just trying to kind of keep our players alive, especially when we're pushing objectives. So I'm still using the M44. I actually think that the new VZ61 is actually pretty fun in some of my more recent rounds, but for now I'm still using the M44. I have the defibrillators, obviously. I have smoke grenades just so that I can help our teammates try to push the objectives and also smoke when I'm trying to revive. Have the frag grenades and still using the melee combat knife. For the gun, I'm using the QBZ192. Again, if you have the new guns unlocked, I personally think the new LMG is incredibly useful. I'll have a video coming out soon where I'll show how effective it is just using the baseline gun without adjusting any of the attachments. And then of course the M16A4 has also been great, especially in the fully auto mode. So for the QBZ192 for this round, I'm using a 1.5x scope, the violet laser for that side-to-side accuracy still. I have the flash hider, an extended barrel, the vertical magazine, this is the 6H64, or grip I should say, 36 round magazine, and the lightweight ammunition. Alright, we're hopping right into this one. And so right away, there's a tank waiting for me, so I hop on in. Again, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to give it a go. So a lot of the same principles apply when you're in a vehicle, especially a ground vehicle, compared to how you play infantry. The difference being, of course, you have an armored body around you, so you can take a bit more damage than when you're infantry. But what I try to do here is kind of time the pushes. So this first sector on Railway to Golmud can be pretty tough depending on the team you're on. And what it really comes down to is timing your aggression. And so I'm in a tank. Tanks right now are pretty powerful after the new update, so I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive and I'm just going to kind of push in and see if the team follows through. Again, this won't be successful unless our team is also willing to be aggressive and to come through. And it'll also largely depend on the other team, whether they are aggressive with their engineers and their other tanks coming in. So while I'm sitting here trying to capture this objective, I notice the tank roll in. You always want to keep an eye out for the enemy tanks because that's obviously your biggest threat, along with engineers who can kind of sneak up behind you. So I try to repress this tank. You can see I get some good damage and he kind of sinks away. He pops out again. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but we're able to take care of him here. And that gives us some breathing room. You can see an engineer pops out, so we're going to keep an eye out over there. And pretty quickly, we capture A. So now what I'm trying to think is, should I push over to B or should I stay at A? Oftentimes, players switch between objectives so frequently, I do it as well. But what happens is, if the whole team pushes over, you lose A, and it just kind of goes back and forth with this tug of war, and you end up just kind of losing resources and not actually capturing the sector. So I'm just going to stay put. You can see they're being aggressive, trying to push back into A, so I'm just going to try to anchor us here. And you can see our team is equally successful at B, which is perfect. Again, it's largely dependent on having an aggressive team. Nevertheless, you can still use a lot of these principles to try to help and give your team motivation to push forward. So obviously, as any ground vehicle, this goes without saying. If you see an engineer, take them out as quick as possible. They're obviously one of your biggest infantry threats. Obviously, if you're playing as a recon and you have the C4s, that can also be a big threat, but they have to get pretty close to you to actually do any damage. So here you can see I decided to kind of buy the team some time, or at least everyone that's in the tank. I was going up there and I was getting spotted pretty quickly. Someone's locking on, so I'm just trying to buy a little bit of time. You can see some enemies running up on the hill. And this is just about positioning, like we talked about with infantry. So kind of minimizing your exposure, but still getting a good angle so you can see what's going on up ahead. So I feel pretty good. Our team is a bit more aggressive. So I'm going to push up a little bit and see what happens. Try to locate their other vehicles. And right away you can see, yeah, they have a tank sitting up on the hill. So here's what we're going to minimize our positioning, our exposure. Pop out when we have a rocket ready to launch, and then pull back. And you see how effective that is as dodging their attacks. And so they actually have 2 tanks, so we're going to have to try to anchor our team here, hopefully get some support from our own engineers, but we're just going to try to keep the pressure on them so they can't push up and establish a more forward-facing front line. So they're getting really aggressive. I'm just going to try to knock out as much damage as I can. This might go bad, we might lose a tank, but here, you can see the engineers help out, and we're able to take him out. So that should leave 1 tank up on the hill. Yeah, he scooted up a little bit. I missed that shot. So we're going to back up, let our rockets reload. One other thing that goes without saying is most of these tanks that you jump in, you obviously have 2 different types of attack. Here's the heavy rockets, and you can also switch to the more machine gun, which is good for the infantry. So you'll see I'm kind of switching back and forth between the 2 pretty constantly. So I am playing as a support and obviously going past a lot of these people that need a revive, but we're pretty effective in the tank, so I'm not going to risk getting out and reviving these people. I'm sure I'm getting some people angry here, but that's okay. I think we're pretty effective right now. So we're pretty exposed. I'm going to try to reposition here, take out our Jeep in the meantime. There's a good chance had I just pushed up there, their engineers, they kind of painted me, I would have just gotten taken out pretty quick. So we're going to reposition, rethink it. Our team did a good job capturing A, but you can see on the mini-map, people are starting to push in. So we're going to try to come up and around the edge here. Just buying some time, letting our health regenerate a bit. Keeping an eye out up on the hill for any new tanks that might roll in. And so the enemy pushed back into A, so now I'm just trying to kind of scope it out and see if we can kind of hold this back line a little bit better. And so yeah, you can see a bunch of them pushing in, so I switched to the machine gun, try to pick these off. And what this just helps is your team that's on the objective has a lot less waves of enemy coming at them simultaneously. So while we're not directly impacting the objective, we're impacting kind of that next wave that's going to impact the objective. So we're struggling to capture it. Now I am going to move in to try to provide that anchor, and you can see it's overrun. So we're going to try to clear this out, or at least help. This can be a bit risky because we're such close quarter here that engineers and the recon will have a really easy time sneaking up behind me. But I'm hoping that we have a big enough push from our teammates that will prevent that from happening. So now I'm just keeping an eye on engineers popping up behind. Anytime you start becoming quite effective as an engineer, or in a tank rather, people will start to push in, and especially the engineers, and they'll start targeting you. So I'm just pulling out because nobody on our team was really pushing in. Just going to buy some time here. And once I see it push, I'll try to help out again. Repositioning. Again, the same tactics that you would do as infantry, where you kind of shoot, pick some people off, reposition. It's constant movement. You never just want to stand in one spot. So we're doing the same thing here with the tank. Trying to get a different angle, see where people are kind of hiding out at on this objective. And now we're getting a push from our team. So we bought some time there, and our team was able to recover and push in again. You can see I'm just kind of always moving. I don't really move in too frequently and just sit there unless I feel like I'm minimally exposed. Otherwise, I kind of move forward, move back. It just makes you a harder target for engineers, and you might be able to dodge a few rockets here and there. So we have a pretty strong front line now. You can see there's not many enemies pushing up where I'm at currently. Looks like they're kind of trying to flank from the side over there on the right from the mini-map. But if we can apply enough pressure here, we might be able to take this sector. So I'm going to push up with the tank again to act as this anchor for the team and see if we can pick people off while the rest of our team falls in behind. So again, kind of moving forward, moving back. I got painted, so I'm just scooting back here. Now it's kind of risky, but I just kind of feel like this is the time to push, so I pull in with the whole tank here. There's still a lot of enemies, and I'm probably going to take a lot of damage, but I just wanted to see if that would kind of inspire the rest of the team to push in as well. I find a lot of times with Breakthrough, if you're on a hesitant team, even when you kind of promote or try to motivate people to move in, they'll still be really hesitant, and in those cases you have to provide a really dominant push, which is really only possible if you're in a vehicle. On something like Hagenthal base, that becomes very difficult with no vehicles possible. So I've been on a lot of matches where those pushes kind of stagnate and there's not much you can do if your team isn't equally aggressive. In those types of matches, I really just focus in on whatever my role is. So like I said, I like to play support when we're attackers, and so on a map like Hagenthal base, I'll focus on tactical revives, you know, smoking out people and trying to just keep our team alive as long as possible. And so you can see that aggressive push really helped out. Racked up some nice kills here, and the whole team pushed up, and we were able to take this sector without too much difficulty here. And so this next sector can be quite hard to get up into as a vehicle. There are a lot of different angles people can shoot from you, and they obviously have the upper hand with kind of having the upper ground. So a lot of times people hang out there on the left in those rocks while also shooting you from up above. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient here as I push up, and I'm going to try to pick people off slowly as we push up. This is where it can help to have your infantry teammates push forward and kind of clear out those buildings, or at least distract those other enemies that are in those buildings. And I'm going to take a different angle. There was just too much going on from every angle up there. And so if I approach from the right, you see immediately I'm met with the tank. So that's going to be difficult as well. And they have a pretty good, strong front line on this sector. So we're going to have to either be aggressive or, yeah, there you go. So try to be aggressive, but that tank just had a better positioning and I was kind of exposed.
I'm fucking hit!
Kind of in a bad spot, but let's see if this guy can get us a revive. If not, we'll just reset. And he does. And so again, in a game mode like Breakthrough, you don't want to just sit around, you know, waiting for a revive forever, but if there's a medic in the area, just give it some time, give it a little patience. You don't want your tickers to go down super fast because then you obviously lose. So every life does matter, and if there is a chance to be revived, just give it some time, like I did there. So here now I'm just working on positioning, trying to kind of move up line by line here and get some better angles. And there's still a lot of enemies on these different tiers, so it's going to be a little difficult. That guy didn't wait long enough. And so one of the biggest parts that helped me on this map was just playing it enough times to know all these different routes. So there's a lot of little different back doors here to enter these buildings, which can give you a nice headway overviewing the objective A here. So I'm just trying to kind of establish a foothold here, which you can tell our teammates are trying to do as well. Once those walls are blown apart, it does become a little bit difficult to maintain that foothold, but still all the rubble gives you some cover before you actually push into the actual objective. One thing I recommend when you play a support is, obviously there's a lot going on, so this is easier said than done, but just try to keep your awareness about you. Your role is to revive people, so obviously you're not going to get everybody, and people are going to get mad. That's just kind of what happens in Battlefield, but don't forget to look around, keep your head on a swivel, look for people that are down, see if you can get to them. Obviously don't put yourself at risk. You have to have smart revives as well, which I think a lot of people who are the downed individuals don't always recognize, that, you know, they just expect to be revived no matter what. So you do need to pick and choose which ones you go for. So right there, I didn't go for those revives in the building. There's a medic sitting in there, so that should be his role. I'm going to actually push up here, see if I can get this revive. He decided to... oh no, he's still here. Yep, there we go. We got picked up from behind. So we really need to establish that foothold in that building. Again, that acts as a really strong base as we push into Objective A. So I'm going to wrap around here and just make sure nobody's sneaking around and hanging out. I'm going to try to take a different line into A. We'll smoke it out, which can help with pushes, helps with the revives. I find that if you can smoke far enough ahead, it can motivate some of your teammates to also push in. So now it's all about, we have the numbers, so now it's all about just kind of staying alive. Let's see if we can get these revive. He backed out. Which brings up another good point is when you're the downed individual, if you know there's tons of enemies around you, it's better to just give up. Like if there's no hope of getting revived, don't try to have your teammate risk it and run in there to get you. Just end your life there pretty quickly. Which I'm guessing is what that guy did, given that there was about 3 or 4 enemies directly around him. So we lost the numbers, but we're just buying time. See how quickly that flips? I think some people get a little nervous when those numbers flip and they run out and they try to pick off kills. But if you just buy time, your team will respawn and they'll push back in. There'll be another wave. So you really just got to stay alive, pick people off when you can, but in a smart way. Not overexposing, not trying to force anything. And just like that, we took the entire objective. Barely any enemies left around us. As I said earlier, breakthroughs very much dependent on the team you're on, but you can make these small adjustments to how you play that will actually impact your team's behavior as well. And I find that playing as support can have that biggest impact. Obviously, the revives help keep your teammates in it, but also the way you apply your smokes has a big effect on their behavior. Like I said, smoking ahead as you're pushing into an objective tends to motivate your teammates around you to also push in. Obviously, it gives nice cover, and it kind of signals to your teammates like, okay, someone smoked, let's push. Like, someone else is interested to push as well. And this may go without saying, there's obviously multiple routes to each of these different objectives on every map, not just this map. So it does help to spread out as a team, to go with team, to go without team, however you want to approach it from your game style. But you can kind of readjust your path as well. Don't just get tunnel vision and go down the same path, especially if it's being held. Someone just has a line of sight down a very specific path. You can kind of reposition and reassess. Now as support, I'm just trying to hang back just slightly behind the front line, just waiting for people to show. I can pick off with the gunplay, but then can also look for people who need a quick respawn, or revive, I should say. So I can see teammates pushing up on the right, so I'm actually going to reposition. I didn't like that front alleyway. So I'm going to see what's going on over here on the side. So there's definitely, they're being met with some enemies here. So again, just trying to hold back a little bit. I see a guy on the mini-map that appeared. He's kind of hanging out in the valley or the meadow. Let's see if we can get this revive. Okay, our teammate backed out, but he's still hanging out. So that was a good example of recognizing the mini-map, seeing people who are trying to flank you and can make you lose quite a few tickets just by picking off, 3 or 4 people without you noticing that they're back there. So I find this next sector can be pretty difficult to push in, even with all the buildings. There's just a lot of places that the enemy can kind of hide behind cover. So it does help, like I said, to kind of push in, see where your teammates are pushing, assess where the enemy's hiding, and reevaluate. There's a risky revive. I'm sure there's people up in those other buildings here. It's kind of a silly thing, but sometimes I like shutting the doors because it gives you that split-second audio signal when someone bursts through, and that can be the difference maker that allows you to kind of react and get the upper hand on the person barging in. Also, it removes the direct line of sight if someone's outside the door to just shoot you from behind. Trying to get this guy, but he's using the cover pretty effectively. I can hear someone coming up towards the building. Yep, and he popped in. See how that closing the door was super effective. So I'm going to close it again. And he blew it open, but that's okay. Had I left that door open, that guy would have snuck in. I may have heard his footsteps, but again, now I heard his footsteps and him barging in. Okay, and that guy was playing great positioning. It's some of the stuff I always kind of coach about, which is, you know, minimizing your body exposure, shooting, repositioning. He was doing that super effectively. Finally got the upper hand there. I got exposed a little bit too long. So while we were kind of messing around there on the edge, looks like our team did a good job capturing A. Let's try to find out where these two people are hanging out. Looks like they might be up top. Looks like we got him. There's a sniper, I think, picking off our teammates. So I'm just trying to take a different angle, see if anyone pops up. Looks like they might be below us on the edge. When you see someone get revived without the full revive, so they have partial health, I always like to put down the health or supply box just to help them out. Also gives you some XP. Okay, there's some guys hanging out in there. We'll just throw a grenade. Nice, got a double kill, I think. Yep. All right, let's see if we can get these revives. Ah, bit too exposed too long. The tank's just sitting up on the hill. It's a good spot to hang out. So let's see if we can help our squad push in from a different angle on B. I don't really like where we're at right here. We're kind of central. The enemy's probably pushing in down the center and from the edge around B. So I'm going to try to push up around the edge. These buildings can be a great vantage point, especially for enemies picking up and trying to move into B area.
Let's move.
One thing to note that you may not realize is, so you saw there our squad mate was reviving our other squad mate. He wasn't using the defibrillators. You can actually help out there, especially if you can get your full charge ready, and they still get credit for the revive, so you're not stealing anything there, which is kind of nice. Again, that was a good instance of where that person probably should have stayed alive for a second longer. I could have gotten him. He was undercover, so he would have been protected once he came back. So here I'm just really trying to figure out where everyone is. Not a lot of people popping up on the minimap. So just kind of trying to poke my head around, trying to see where the enemy is, see if we can have a push, see if we can help some of our teammates here, get a random grenade kill. And you'll notice as support, and when I play as other classes as well, I'm always sprinting and sliding in and out of cover. Again, this is just to help minimize your body exposure. And it makes it a lot harder to lock on for other enemies to aim and hit their target. You can see how effective this QBZ is. Got a nice little double kill here. A little cheeky, just kind of sneaking around, hanging out. So right now we're just trying to kind of keep our team from losing tickets. We're not really effective in the push. Keeping an eye on these people sneaking up behind us. Someone somehow got behind and is flanking. I see him running around back there. Yep, here he comes. He shows himself. Two more of his squad mates were able to spawn on him. Showed up on the minimap. And you can see we're about to get surrounded here from most angles. So there's a guy below us based off his downward triangle. He's probably going to come up the stairs. There's a guy coming right on the edge of the building. Here he is. Put down the supply and the health. See if we can get this revive. He's pretty well protected. Obviously, as support, you want to balance when you should drag somebody and when you can just get the quick revive. I always judge it based off of the line of sight. You know, when they fall, they oftentimes remove the line of sight for whoever shot them. So it's easy enough to just revive them on the spot. Obviously, if they're in a corridor and their body's sticking out, pull them back. because you can get shot even on your feet. So there's nothing more frustrating than being revived and dying instantly. So our tickers are starting to go down a bit. Again, I'm trying to keep our teammates alive so that we can keep this going, but at some point we're going to have to make a push. You can see a bunch of our teammates pushing up on the left side, so it's probably time here pretty quick to push up. We're starting to capture, but we got a lot of pressure here on the edge. And the effect that that can have with this pressure on the edge, which isn't at the objective, is as our team starts to try to capture that objective and a few of us get picked off and are tried to push in, they can just continuously get picked off by these guys hanging out, flanking us. So it does help to clear those out. It's not a waste of time. I was seeing if I could capture it from down here. It looks like you can't, so I got to get back up there. But it's quite a hot objective right now. And that's going to do it for this one. We ended up capturing the win here. Hopefully this walkthrough gives some useful ideas for both vehicle and infantry gameplay. Appreciate all the support recently, and if there are other topics or gameplay styles you want me to break down next, definitely let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Be sure to spread some positivity, and I'll see you in the next one.